Welcome, Namaste, and Aloha. In this episode, we present a complete overview of Canto 1 of the Srimad Bhagavatam titled Creation. Canto 1 contains 19 chapters and serves as the grand introduction to the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. It establishes the framework, the speakers, the listeners, and the urgent circumstances under which this supreme knowledge was transmitted. The setting is the sacred forest of Naimisharanya, where 88,000 sages have gathered for a 1,000-year sacrifice at the dawn of the age of Kali. They recognize that humanity is entering a period of spiritual decline, and they want to know, what is the one thing that can save people in this degraded age? They select Suta Goswami as their speaker because he has heard the Bhagavatam directly from Sukadeva Goswami. The sages ask 6 foundational questions that drive the entire canto. What is the ultimate good for all people? What is the essence of all scriptures? Why did Krishna appear? What are his incarnations? What are his pastimes? And where have religious principles taken shelter after his departure? These 6 questions are not academic inquiries. They represent the deepest concerns of any thoughtful human being facing an uncertain age. Core teaching. The core teaching of Canto 1 unfolds in 3 major movements. The first movement, chapters 1 through 6, establishes the philosophical foundation. Suta Goswami declares that the supreme occupation for all humanity is unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which alone can completely satisfy the self. He explains that the absolute truth is realized in 3 progressive features: Brahman, the impersonal, all-pervading spirit; Paramatma, the localized supersoul within every heart; and Bhagavan, the supreme personality of Godhead in his full personal glory. He then narrates how Vyasadeva, despite compiling all the Vedas and writing the Mahabharata, felt incomplete until his teacher Narada instructed him to write exclusively about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. This teaching is revolutionary. All knowledge, all philosophy, all religious practice is incomplete unless it culminates in direct glorification of the Supreme Person through love. The second movement, chapters 7 through 15, narrates the final events of the Dvapara age. We witness the punishment of Ashvatthama, the extraordinary prayers of Queen Kunti, the majestic departure of Bhishma Deva in Krishna's presence, Krishna's return to Dvaraka, the birth of Emperor Parikshit, and finally the retirement of the Pandavas after Krishna's disappearance. These narratives demonstrate how the greatest souls conducted themselves in relationship with Krishna, providing living examples of devotion in action. The third movement, chapters 16 through 19, describes the transition into the age of Kali. King Parikshit encounters Dharma as a bull standing on one leg and the earth as a weeping cow being beaten by a degraded man representing Kali. The king restricts Kali to 5 places: gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, animal slaughter, and wherever gold is hoarded. Then comes the pivotal event. Parikshit is cursed to die in 7 days. Rather than lamenting, he renounces his kingdom, sits on the banks of the Ganges, and asks the most essential question: what should a person do who is about to die? The appearance of Sukadeva Goswami to answer this question sets the stage for the remaining 11 cantos of the Bhagavatam. Modern scientific parallel. The structure of Canto 1 offers remarkable parallels to modern information theory and systems design. The 6 questions asked by the sages function like what computer scientists call root queries in a knowledge graph. From these 6 carefully constructed questions, the entire 18,000-verse knowledge system unfolds. Modern search engines and artificial intelligence systems are built on the same principle. The quality of the output depends entirely on the quality of the initial query. The sages demonstrate that asking the right question is itself a form of wisdom. The concept of progressive realization of the absolute truth as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan parallels the scientific method of understanding reality at increasing levels of resolution. A physicist first understands energy as a general force, then discovers it operates through specific fields and particles, and finally recognizes that all forces may emerge from a single unified field. Similarly, spiritual realization progresses from the impersonal, all-pervading energy to the localized intelligence within every atom to the full personal source of everything. Vyasadeva's incompleteness, despite his encyclopedic output, parallels what modern psychology calls the meaning crisis. Research consistently shows that productivity, accomplishment, and information accumulation do not automatically produce fulfillment. Something qualitatively different is needed: personal connection, love, and purpose that transcends the self. Vyasa had produced the greatest literary output in human history, yet felt empty because he had not engaged his deepest capacity for love. The transition from Dvapara to Kali Yuga parallels what historians call civilizational decline and what systems theorists call entropy in complex systems. Every civilization eventually degrades. The Bhagavatam's response is not despair but adaptation. In this age, the most powerful spiritual practice is the simplest one: the congregational chanting of the holy names. This is analogous to how the most robust engineering solutions are often the simplest ones, requiring the fewest dependencies and the least maintenance. Practical application: the practical teachings of Canto 1 center on three transformative principles. First, the principle of proper inquiry. The sages teach us that spiritual life begins not with answers, but with questions. However, not just any questions. The questions must be about the absolute truth, asked with humility to a qualified person, with genuine desire to transform one's life. Before seeking answers, examine your questions. Are you asking what will bring temporary pleasure or what will bring permanent good? Second, the principle of hearing as the primary spiritual practice. Sutta Goswami emphasizes that by regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, all that is troublesome to the heart is practically destroyed, and loving service to the Supreme Lord is established as an irrevocable fact. This is not metaphorical. The tradition teaches that transcendental sound vibration has the power to directly purify consciousness in a way that intellectual study alone cannot achieve. The practice is simple: dedicate time each day to hearing or reading the Bhagavatam with attention, either from a realized teacher or through recorded discourses. Third, the principle of urgency. King Parikshit's 7-day deadline is not merely a narrative device, it is a teaching about how to live. When you know time is limited, everything non-essential falls away. You stop procrastinating on what matters most. You stop wasting energy on trivial conflicts. You ask the real questions. The Bhagavatam invites every reader to adopt Parikshit's urgency without waiting for a literal death sentence. Live as though your time is precious, because it is. For young people, Canto 1 speaks directly to the condition of your generation in ways that may surprise you. The sages gathered at Naimisharanya because they recognized that a dark age was beginning, an age characterized by short attention spans, laziness, misguided intelligence, bad fortune, and constant disturbance. Sound familiar? The Bhagavatam was specifically designed for people living in exactly the conditions you face today. The text describes the people of Kali Yuga as Alpa Ayusha, short-lived; Manda, lazy; Sumanda Mataya, misguided in their thinking; Mandabhagya, unlucky; and Upadruta, constantly disturbed. This is not an insult but a diagnosis, and the prescription is remarkably simple. Hear about Krishna, that is it. Not complex rituals, not expensive pilgrimages, not years of silent meditation in a cave. Simply hear with attention, and the heart begins to transform. Vyasadeva's story is particularly relevant for your generation. Here is the most productive person in recorded history, someone who literally compiled all human knowledge into organized form, and he felt empty. This is the creator economy's deepest fear made real, that producing endless content does not equal fulfillment. Narada's instruction to Vyasa is the same instruction for every young creator today. Your work must be connected to something transcendent, or it will leave you hollow no matter how successful it becomes. King Parikshit's response to his death sentence is also instructive. He did not panic, he did not seek revenge, he did not try to negotiate or escape. He asked, "What should I do with the time I have left?" This is the question that cuts through all the noise of modern life. Strip away social media, career anxiety, relationship drama, and financial worry. What should you actually do with your time? The Bhagavatam says, hear about the Supreme with full attention. Everything else will naturally align. For old generation, for those in the later stages of life, Canto 1 offers both validation and urgent instruction. The great Bhishmadeva, lying on a bed of arrows after a lifetime of unparalleled service, chose to spend his final moments giving spiritual instruction in the presence of Lord Krishna. He did not reminisce about his achievements or lament his suffering. He focused his consciousness entirely on the transcendental form of the Lord and departed in full awareness. This is the model for how to approach the end of life, not with fear or regret, but with focused devotion. Dhritarashtra's story in chapter 13 is equally instructive. After a lifetime of attachment to his sons, his palace, and his comforts, he was finally awakened by Vidura's direct words about the reality of approaching death. He left everything overnight and achieved liberation through intense meditation in the forest. The teaching is clear. It is never too late to begin, but the longer you wait, the more urgent it becomes. The Pandavas' retirement in chapter 15 shows that even the most righteous and successful people must eventually let go of everything material. They had won the greatest war in history, ruled justly for decades, and enjoyed every blessing. Yet they recognized that the time had come to walk away. This is the dignity of conscious departure versus the indignity of being dragged away by time against your will. Perhaps the most powerful teaching for the older generation is Parikshit's transformation. He was a powerful emperor in the prime of his reign when he received his death sentence. His response was not despair, but immediate and complete surrender. He recognized that 7 days of focused spiritual hearing was worth more than decades of comfortable rule. This reframing is available to you right now. Whatever time remains, whether 7 days or 7 years or 17 years, can be the most spiritually productive period of your entire life if you approach it with Parikshit's clarity and urgency. The tradition teaches that the spiritual potency of hearing increases with age because the distractions of youth and ambition naturally diminish. Your capacity to absorb transcendental knowledge may actually be greater now than at any previous point in your life. Thanks, Namaste, and Mahalo for joining us on this journey through the timeless wisdom of Srimad Bhagavatam.